So the show that's going to be in Edinburgh is called Our Carnal Hearts. It's a show that I began thinking about actually in 2011 when, after the first London riots, and I was just looking at the way that it was the way that a kind of an injustice led to kind of quite natural response, and then from that led to kind of looting and the acquisition of stuff. The setup is this square which draws from the Sacred Harp singing tradition. It's the Southern American states kind of spiritual singing tradition, and that's always led by someone in the very centre, doing these kind of strange arm movements to keep everyone in. And so I was watching that person, and that person became the sort of me in the show, who's a kind of, we call her the high priestess. She's like me but turned up and mean.
Humble, humble, accidentally ate all the chocolate at my TV audition. Hashtag how embarrassing. Just stepped in gum. Who spits out gum on the red carpet? Hashtag I'm at a premiere.
It's a show about envy. It's a show about envy and competition and the way that kind of society and politics in particular and social media compel us to compete with each other.
Above her, in a 60s office block, people are watching from behind curtains. Curtains drawn. Their neighbours are inside. They are listening for the sound of reassuring voices on loudhailers, for the sound of police, for the sound of unravelling hoses. Those neighbours are turning on the TV to see nothing about it on the news, just shiny-faced men protecting their own interests. The texts, the direct messages, the voicemails, the likes, the retweets. Eventually, even those curtain-peeking witnesses get taken up. The will to join in spreading like the flames themselves.
I think the influences I've got are kind of the more classic kind of theatre tradition, a live art, sort of bigger visual piece, and the kind of rhythms and interaction of live comedy, plus kind of, a childhood of really privileging story and conversation around kind of dinner tables. So that kind of, those kind of rhythms of conversation, interruption, shouting over each other, and things needing to be direct and funny in order to be heard.
People who know exactly what they want in the world. People who have flatmates, who have boyfriends, who are actually the boyfriends they want. People who have the right people seeing their shows all the time. People who don't have grief in their families endlessly.
We first did the show in Austin, in Texas, in an old sex shop factory. So it had its kind of, it kind of had this genesis in this factory space. And I've since done it in more traditional theatre spaces and in kind of pop-up DIY spaces. So it is quite flexible because it does have this feeling of kind of a bunch of strange women just showing up in your town and putting on a show for you.
Here's to an ownership society, to risk and reward, to boosting competition, to millionaires and billionaires on Wall Street. Oh, this bit!